3, 2, 1. Today's podcast is presented by PODGO. PODGO is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from PODGO. We recently joined as a member and you can too. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. Don't forget to add the 2-on-1 podcast in the How Did You Hear About PODGO section of your application. Now get ready for the rest of the episode.
Lads, we're back.
Finally.
Most importantly, I'm back.
Yeah. I know, Adam, you're back.
I am. I missed 2 episodes because I got stuff going on. But Adam is back for episode 100, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the math works out. I think this is like technically episode 77 that we're talking about hockey stuff, but it adds up to 100.
But we can't forget our bizarre adventure history.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that little...
Remember that era?
Yeah.
It was like 2 months ago, not even.
The brief filled with a lot of, jokes around Daniel's choice of movies being a little subpar, some beef about Jurassic Park versus Back to the Future. And it was good, some singing from Back to the Future, but that was then, this is now. We're in the midst of...
Don't forget Formula One.
Huh? Yeah, Formula One. That's what introduced us, yeah.
Well, Formula One's a main part of the show. We won't talk about the Spanish Grand Prix today.
It's quite boring.
Because we're cutting the fat out of this episode.
But why am I eating pizza?
I don't know. That's your decision.
Why is Alex not eating pizza?
Don't worry. I'll get to it.
Okay. Anyway, the reason we're cutting the fat out is because I leave for 2 episodes. And you guys did a near 3-hour episode last week with Mike. My God. I haven't finished it yet.
That's okay.
And I had to drive from Montreal to finish it.
Mike said that his favorite podcast was Spin Chicklets. So...
it wasn't ours. I don't know how
Mike's not allowed on the podcast anymore.
It's really funny that he texted me about that. He's like, Alex said this, and I
didn't say any of those things.
I want to launch an official thing against Alex here. One other thing I'm going to bring up here is I left one of them because I'm in the process of just for a little bit, first semester of school at least, I'm going to be in Montreal.
What?
And I'm back in Pickering because my jaw surgery. You're figuring that stuff out. So
this is news to me.
Sorry?
This is news to me.
Yes.
Did we talk about it?
I'm pretty sure I mentioned on the Instagram.
He definitely did.
But regardless, I left one of the adapters to connect to my Mac in Montreal, and I can't use my mic without it, so I'm using my old Sony. And if you can look at the YouTube version, if you want a visual experience, you'll see that my webcam is pretty bad. But the mic is working. So, guys, it is happy because it is episode 100, though. We do have to start out the show with some bad news. Dale Hawerchuk, unfortunately, passed away yesterday. Had some a fight with cancer. I believe it was stomach cancer. He even had to step away from coaching duties of the Barrie Colts in the OHL to do it. I guess first thing I want to ask you guys is when you think the name Dale Hawerchuk, what do you guys think of? I'll start with the older hockey fan and Daniel.
I don't know. Just you think of the Winnipeg Jets. I know that he only played really half his career there, but he's become such an icon with that city and that team. And I remember, he was a huge spokesperson from when the Jets returned to Winnipeg. That he's just been, a figure in hockey. And I always forget that 57 is such a young age to pass away. It's really bad to hear about everything with cancer. I know he came out with his diagnosis back in October, and just really unfortunate. He did fight the good fight.
I think he had talked about that chemo was not easy on him. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, it's kind of what Daniel said before. When you think of Dale Hawerchuk, you think of I think 2 things. Number one, the Winnipeg Jets, being that he was a first overall pick to the Winnipeg Jets, and the Barrie Colts. I saw multiple players who played for Barrie. The 2 that stood out, I think, to me were obviously Andrei Svechnikov and Rasmus Andersson, who both spent time with the Barrie Colts, and how important he was to that franchise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you really, really good stuff there, guys. Of course, yeah. You almost think of Howard-Chuck's legacy. This is a guy who scored over 1,400 points, but it's more, bringing legitimacy to Winnipeg as a market. What he did for minor hockey as a head coach. It's incredible that not only did he give back when he was a player, but also as a coach. And it was great to see Evander Kane also saying some stuff. Andrei Svechnikov, of course, you mentioned some of the players, Alex, there, played for the Barrie Colts. And what nearly brings a tear to your eye is before the Flames-Dallas game, I think it was Game 5, there was a video of Rick Bowness, Dallas's head coach, came out before the game and saw the memorial thing. And, of course, not only did Bowness coach, I think he coached Howard-Chuck back in the day, he also played a little bit for the Jets with Dale Howard-Chuck. So, again, 600-point seasons, some 50 goals in there as well.
Yeah.
Underratedly, one of the best players of all time.
Shout out to whoever is running the bubble in Toronto. Getting the memorial up so quickly. I think it was within half an hour of the game, it all came out, and then before the Montreal-Philadelphia game, because I believe that was the first game to be played after the news was announced. They had the board, they had it up on the jumbotron. They had a video. Then they had stuff going into the first period. So, like, Ron, all the guys who were doing the Sportsnet broadcast, I don't know if there was an NBC one. I'd imagine there was an NBC one as well. But I saw the Sportsnet one. Just shout out to those guys for getting it done so quickly and so eloquently.
Another amazing Stephen Brunt video essay on Dale Howard-Chuck. And of course, I don't think we can finish this off without saying the job he did for the Canada Cup as well. Hey, Gretzky, you've got this. No, you do. Hey, Mario, you got this. No, you do. Dale Howard-Chuck, condolences to the family, and nothing else to say. Rest in peace to Dale Howard-Chuck. But guys, it is a hard turn to go up to, but hockey is in full effect. We're in the Sweet 16. I didn't realize that the last time I was on the show, it was still the play-in round.
Yeah.
And today we have 4 elimination games.
Adam, before we get to the play-in, can we move something up on the queue? Just so we get it over with.
Yeah, sure. Is this
Okay.
Tuukka Rask?
Yeah.
All right, then.
I've been dying to ask you what you thought of what Mike Milbury said.
Yes.
Because we talked about it. I brought it up last episode, and I still haven't asked you about it, and I've been waiting to hear what you had to say on the show. So before we get into the new news that has come out, like what did you think about what Mike Milbury said?
Well, when he started off by saying that people in Boston don't like Tuukka Rask and this wasn't going to help, I thought, man, he's not wrong. And then he kept talking.
Yeah.
And there was never a sort of understanding. There wasn't we wish Tuukka Rask and his family well. There was no sort of understanding. And instead of Mike Milbury went on this whole thing of I wouldn't do it. I don't see players doing it. And, man, it just felt like such an outdated take from a guy who's just from a bygone era of the game. I unfortunately, of course, we've talked about this before. Alex, you don't normally have the volume up on hockey games.
Yeah, not during the intermission.
Sorry?
Not during the intermission.
Mm-hmm. So I cannot watch a game without listening to commentary in that.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like every time I put on an NBC game and I hear Mike Milbury, I just enjoy the game less. It's just some of this, like, saying that Muzzin faked I think he suggested that Muzzin was faking his injury, never played the game for the rest of that series. He was, during the it was a Tampa round robin game, he was criticizing Jonathan Drouin when he started talking about Mikhail Sergachev. The comparison to a NCAA women's hockey game. It's just, I cannot understand why this guy continues to be given a platform to talk, because he is just so out of date.
I have an idea why.
I think it's so we kind of. Oh, you want to go first?
No,
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned before, like, Mike Milbury's player, GM, executive, I guess, commentator now. It's the old boys club, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's a guy that, no matter what he has done, I don't know, hint, hint, trade Roberto Luongo for close to nothing.
Yeah.
He's going to keep finding a position here because, it's such a small pool of things. He's going to know someone who knows someone. And it just, I think, he knows what kind of brand he gives to a certain audience, that he's going to always try to have these, like, quote unquote hot takes that it's going to shock people. But at the same time, too, when you think of it, you think of Mike Bilberry.
Does he think that, hey, Don's out the game now, I'm going to try and take that? Because
I don't know. Is that really a void that has to be filled?
I look at the guys and the girls who are working, or, the men and women who work so hard in sport media. Caroline Cameron's been fantastic this year. I think it's Catherine Tapper on NBC. Excuse me if I get that wrong. Fantastic. Cassie Campbell-Pascal has been amazing for Sportsnet. Kevin Bieksa has been a breakout star yet again.
Anthony
Been
Stewart.
saved. I love so many of these people. And then Mike Milbury sounds exactly on air as he does as a player. Like, this is the guy I see who, if somebody disagrees with him, he's going to take off a shoe and start beating someone with it. And it's just, it's not what I want to see in the broadcast anymore. I do not see what he adds. So would we like to go on to the new Rask stuff, or do you guys have anything else to say?
It's clear that I could be completely wrong, but this is just my interpretation of how things have gone down, that NBC just doesn't care about getting that new audience. Like, they're content with the old hockey audience that they currently have. Because look at what happened with Sportsnet. Think about how in TSN was rising up in a lot of their ratings and beating out Sportsnet, and Sportsnet completely changed. Think about the radio set list, completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think it seems to me that NBC just doesn't care about looking for that new audience and is perfectly content with the old stuff.
Such a shame, because they have some great people there.
Yeah. And they're probably going to get the next TV contract.
Yeah, and the NHL are gladly bending over backwards for them, as we have seen. Though, we'll talk about Tuukka Rask now. Then, so of course, you guys talked about it. Everyone should know now that he opted out of return to play and he returned home. Now, he has a young family at home, and Greg Hill on the air said that he had a long conversation with Tuukka Rask, and it seems to be there is some sort of medical issue with one of Tuukka Rask's daughters. I believe it was the daughter's either 4 or 5, right? And, I am not a father. I am 20 years old. Alex, you're 19, right?
Mm-hmm.
Daniel's like 46. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like to have a son or a daughter. But I understand why Tuukka Rask would go. It's so against Mike Milbury as well here that nobody thought about, or he did not think about the family side of this, because the moment your child gets sick and there is some sort of emergency, we don't know the details, nor should we. That's down to Tuukka Rask and his family. But my dear God, guys, does this not make everyone else look worse who was jumping on Tuukka Rask saying he didn't care about the game and he was making all of this up?
Sorry, go, Dad.
Oh, sorry. What I kind of just felt was, why does this have to be a big deal? The amount of players in the NBA that have left the bubble, opted not to return in the MLB, it's just like, yeah, you get the one story and that's it. You don't drag it. It's like, that's the one thing I just don't like about this. It's become an isolated story, and so many hypotheticals here and there that going on with like Tuukka Rask, that why does it have to be something like the amount of stories that have already come out in the NBA saying, with a lot of players saying, I am leaving the bubble because I have a family emergency. Okay, best wishes to him. We'll be praying for him, but that's where it kind of ends, right? It's not like, let's question his desire to play. Let's question what's his determination right now to his team. Like, these are just non-stories, I think.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a bunch of crap. It's the same to start. So obviously we said before, Tuukka Rask came out and talked about the hockey that's going on in the bubble and how it feels. And what a surprise. A player gives his opinion and everyone jumps on his back. Like, it's typical. This is that alone is such typical hockey crap that a player gives his opinion, and all the hockey fans are, we want change. We want change. We want players to talk. We want players to do this. And as soon as they do it, you jump on his back.
What's even more frustrating here is Don Sweeney and Patrice Bergeron especially came out and said, if Bergeron saying we fully support him, Don Sweeney saying, if you have any sort of info, you get why we're doing this. The team supported him. He did not want to be a distraction to them. And people are still jumping on Tuukka Rask.
You know why they're jumping on Tuukka Rask? The people who are still jumping on Tuukka Rask are the people who didn't like Tuukka Rask to start with. It's that simple. And
Tim Thomas fans?
Yeah, Tim Thomas fans. Last week, when it first came out, Brian Burke said, be careful what you say, because if or when this comes out, the critics are going to look stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it came out, and everyone looks stupid. If you go and listen to that interview, if you're still criticizing Rask, or you think he's lying or whatever, honestly, don't stop talking. Turn off Twitter, delete it off your phone. You're just a dick. You're just a dick. I don't I could use a worse word, but I'm not going to.
I've never heard you use the word before, but it's very fitting for those people. You know what, Daniel? What's even worse here is you can clearly tell now, having a bit more context, that probably the reason Tuukka Rask says, and this is pure speculation, but I think it's fair to put together here, saying that it didn't maybe that those games didn't feel quite like playoffs to him was because his mind was elsewhere. I think that's fair, is it not, Daniel?
Yeah, I kind of think so too, that, to be away from your family like this, under this immense kind of circumstances, really does kind of, push you away from, what's been considered the norm of what's playoff hockey's kind of been like. His family not there. He's, really in a foreign city, if you really look at it, living there away from them. And the fact that something like this kind of comes up, and we don't know how long it's been kind of there for him, but it's something that the fact that he still played shows a lot of his determination and his dedication to the team. So nothing to criticize there.
All right.
Why is this more of a story than when Patrick Beverley left the bubble and there was literally photographs of him at a gentleman's club getting food? How is this? Why are fans more concerned about Tuukka Rask leaving the bubble to go be with his family? Even if there wasn't a family emergency and he'd rather be at home with his family during a pandemic? Why is that more of a story? How, in what world?
In the world of hockey, my friend, though.
It's the whole hockey culture thing where it's it's the national identity in a sense where you're not dedicated to that, you're not dedicated to the bigger picture, and I think that's the worst thing. Last thing,
if you want hockey to change and you're still criticizing Tuukka Rask, you clearly don't want hockey culture to change. So stop talking about Bell Media. Let's talk. Stop talking about when someone says something wrong. You clearly don't want to be part of the solution because you're still talking about this crap.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully throughout the day or the coming days entirely, people are going to hear about this Tuukka Rask news, the update, I guess, and hopefully people actually understand and hopefully some people go, you know what, sorry, Tuukka.
Yeah, I'd like to see some apologies.
Yeah. Okay, though, we will go to the games themselves, and we'll start by we'll talk about this team now because currently the Tampa Bay Lightning are looking to get some revenge from last year. Of course, in the playoffs, they got humiliated by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Right now, they're up 3-1 in the series. They're up 2-1 in the first intermission of the game, lads. In fact, I was on the call here with Alex, waiting for Daniel to join. I look away from my TV, and all of a sudden, in a minute and 1 second, Columbus were down 2-0. Nick Foligno, though, gets them within one, guys. And oh boy, is it fair to say that this is more the series we thought that these two teams would have had last year, Alex?
Yeah, it should have been. It should have been. I think there's a couple factors that we should really be looking at. Number one, I think there's a chip on the shoulder of multiple players, and I brought this up last episode. Multiple players, and on John Cooper. I don't think John Cooper, I think there has to be a serious conversation if John Cooper once again loses to the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round with this team. And the players, Sergachev and Cirelli, RFAs at the end of the year. Someone's going to be moved. If not one, maybe two players are on their way out.
Yeah.
So this is a last chance for somebody with this team. Next year, this team could look really different. So there has to be a chip on some of these players' shoulders. Number two, this should have been last year, but this doesn't come to this isn't a surprise. That first game really felt like an anomaly because they should be scoring. Tampa Bay is a scoring team. Columbus does not have the offense they had last year. They don't have Panarin. They don't have Duchesne. Those are too big of their offense producers. Yeah, Pierre-Luc Dubois has taken a step. Yes, Cam Atkinson and Gus Nyquist, but it's not the same as what those two players should have brought to the team. So the fact that they're actually beating the Columbus Blue Jackets does not come as a surprise to me.
Daniel, how much of this series was dictated when Tampa won that 8-period monstrosity of a hockey game? How much of a mental effect? You have Seth Jones and Zach Werenski both playing over 60 minutes. Your goalie makes a record 85 saves, and you lose. Did that have any? Am I overthinking it, or do you think Columbus really had to win that first game? Of course, they could still win, but it doesn't look good right now.
Yeah, I kind of think that where we kind of showed how Columbus plays, how structured they are, that they're a complete team that could kind of compete. But at the same time, too, you look at those shots where they still put up 56 shots on Andrei Vasilevsky. That's a lot, but compared to the 80 plus that Tampa has, I think Columbus is just kind of showing out that as much as they can do, they're still going to get overwhelmed by a better team. And getting to that point, what Alex said was, Tampa has a chip on their shoulder. I think two things. Andrei Vasilevsky has to show that he can be that guy. When they made it to the finals, it was Ben Bishop as the goalie, not him. Second, it's that whole thing where what they did at the deadline, they got Barclay Goodrow, they got Blake Coleman, for first-round picks and Kalen Foote. There's pressure on this team with those expiring deals to kind of make a run because honestly it's been pretty disappointing with the amount of players they've got. When I was checking their lineup, Mitchell Stevens finally made the team, but at the same time too that they have these guys here and there that they've been so lucky getting these guys in later rounds that you try to have a cohesive effort, but it just hasn't been the case. So I think that's been the whole story that Tampa has to show. This is the first team we have to get over to show that, we could make that run.
Yeah. Sorry. I think what this team did, what this Tampa Bay team did different than what I guess Toronto did in the first round is that Tampa Bay is actually scoring, right? They're playing closer to Columbus's game at the same time they're scoring. And that's where Columbus is getting screwed over because like we said at the beginning of the playoffs, Columbus has to work hard to get their goals. But when you score like Tampa should be and really has been in most of their games, yes, they're scoring 2 to 3 goals, but Columbus is only able to score 1 goal because they're playing that when they're on defense, they are playing defense. They have an actual defensive core, right? They're not playing against Cody Ceci anymore. They're playing against Sergachev. They're playing against Hedman, Bogosian, Shattenkirk, right?
I wouldn't put those last two as a defensive wall. But it's your point of like, if you can weather the storm of a Kucherov or a Point, you then have to break through the wall of those defensemen, right. McDonough or Hedden. It is just not fun. You cannot, and and it's even worse. Like the funniest thing, you still don't have Stamkos for Tampa, and Kucherov hasn't even turned a button on. I don't know if he will because it's Kucherov, but
yeah. And
then that third line that everyone's talking about are really leading the way. Yanni Gourde, my dear God, you talk about the late round selections, Daniel. Yanni Gourde, undrafted. Tyler Johnson, undrafted. And it really is an argument that we talk about guys getting moved. It's one of, if not those two, to make room for a Chiarelli and a Sergachev contract. Is there any chance, though, that maybe Columbus can tighten things back up? Korpisalo can dial back in, really shut the door. Can the Blue Jackets come back from this?
You have to make their shots count, I think.
Quality.
Yeah, quality shots, play their game, but, try something, final push today.
Yeah, I think that, and I think, but the thing is they're going to get tired. Tampa's the different, Tampa's fine with playing down in the corners. And because Tampa has so much depth, they're coming at you with that first line. Then they're coming at you with that second line. And then they're coming at you with that third line. And it's great how good Columbus's defense are. But when those three lines are absolutely rolling, they're going to get tired. And I think that's what ends up happening here.
Mm-hmm. It really is the battle of attrition here, guys. It's kind of like trench warfare too. You just send your guys until you eventually break through, just to get a mile of ground, and that's really what it is against the Columbus Blue Jackets and Jonas Korpisalo there.
I love that. That was really good. Really good.
Well, I do try. Before we move on to, we'll talk about the Golden Knights and the Blackhawks. Our first elimination in the round of 16, the Sweet 16. I actually have a surprise for you guys. I have made the official 2-on-1 podcast bingo sheet of bingo.
Hey.
Bingo sheet of bingo?
The bingo sheet of bingo.
Okay.
Would you guys like me to read you some of the selections from the bingo sheet of bingo?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We have any mention of Lego, any mention of Kotkaniemi versus Barrett Hayden. There are only 6 or 7 teams that make money in this league. It's science. I mix up your two's names, which will always happen. I mentioned that Nick Suzuki is going to be a star one day. We mentioned friend of the show, Elliot Friedman or Jeff Merrick. I'm sure he's a good guy, but he's not good at the game of hockey. Adam and Analytics. I fangirl over Nathan McKinnon. Daniel disconnects. Any mention of how handsome Patrice Bergeron is. A free space. Any mention of a Leafs legend. Daniel mentions the World Juniors. I don't mean to make it about the Leafs, but I'm going to. The Leafs are mentioned outside a segment that is not about the Leafs. Alex trash talks the Nemestikov or the Ryan Callahan deal. The Habs are good at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
Any mention of Mike when he's not on the show. Anytime we mention the Mighty Ducks or the movie. Or the great run with J.S. Jaguar. Anytime we reference Hockey Central at noon, Leafs Hour, or the Steve Dangle podcast. Any mention of Yaroslav Askarov. Darren Ferris and sending a client to Europe. And finally, anytime Alex and I get into a fight. That is the 2-on-1 bingo card. I will send you.
We could fill up that entire sheet this episode if you want.
I know.
In fact, we'll put it. I'll make it look all pretty. And we can put it on the Instagram page and Twitter and try and make that all fancy like, guys. On the next episode, we can start playing some 2-on-1 podcast bingo of bingo.
I'm just gonna try not to say any of those things. That's what's gonna happen.
I tried to make it, to spread it out a little bit. I will lie, there are some stretches in there, though. When you're on your way back from Montreal, you try and pass the time. So
when you're on your way back from Montreal and listening to a 3-hour podcast,
I had time. Though, guys, I'll tell you who no longer has time to play because they got eliminated. That wasn't good. I'm sorry.
Oh,
That's okay.
Despite Corey Crawford's best efforts, the Vegas Golden Knights last night eliminated the Chicago Blackhawks in 5 games. I guess to start, I think the Chicago Blackhawks should be proud of themselves. Mm-hmm. They not only humiliated the Oilers, which everyone in the eastern part of Canada is happy with, they also made it a closer series than I think they had any right to. And Alex, put it on the bingo sheet. You were on with Iceman again today. Snowman. God, sorry. I'm thinking of Chuck Liddell. Is it Chuck Liddell? The Iceman.
I don't know.
Chuck. Whatever. You were on with Snowman on his platform.
Yeah.
Right before the show, actually, and I know he is a Blackhawks fan. You talked a bit about the Blackhawks and that. So take it away. Vegas, they're good. Chicago, they're not terrible.
Not terrible. Yeah, I think what ended up happening here is I think the only reason Chicago won one game is really because of that experience. That playoff experience, and they're really riding on Corey Crawford, Kane, and Tays, and even someone like Brandon Saad and Duncan Keith. Let's not forget Duncan Keith, of course. But at the end of the day, I'd make an argument that the Vegas Golden Knights are one of the deepest teams in the West, if not the deepest. And that's what beat the Chicago Blackhawks, because it's great. First line, you might be matching up against Keith and Bachvist. That second line, I guess, is matching up against Cuckoo and Oli Mata, which apparently they've been really good this playoffs. But when you get to that third line and even the fourth line, like, they're not putting up points, but they're going to throw someone around. It gets tough to stop them, especially when your bottom lines like Calvin DeHaan and Connor Murphy, right? So I think where the Vegas Golden Knights succeeded is with depth. But let's be clear, the games weren't that, like, no one really dominated on the score sheet, right? It was they were pretty close 1 to 2 goal games each time, with the exception of the first game. Like, Chicago did have a very tough matchup, and it seemed like they played very well against Vegas.
Daniel, is it fair to say that this is finally the Golden Knights team we all said was the juggernaut in the Pacific at the start of the season?
Yeah, I think they are. That a lot of patience I found with their team. Like, I think what Alex said, that depth on that team, like, they kind of trusted every line they had to just, go out there. I like, if we're going to talk about, like, it was kind of expected Vegas was going to win. Personally, I wish, it was 2-0 Chicago early in the game. I'm like, they could push us to at least 6, but they let it slide. They let it, like, gradually slide. So
yeah,
at least, it was like what Alex said. It wasn't a blowout, but yeah, I don't know. Like, when I was watching it, like, I had flashbacks of 2015 Chicago that, that Patrick Kane, that deke he had on Robert Leonard, that's vintage Patrick Kane.
Whenever he pulls out the old one knee, like, drag celly,
yeah,
it makes you nostalgia.
Yeah, but at the same time too, like, it's also the reality too when you see those guys, like, perform at the same time too. Like, it's like they're dragging the rest of the team, and it's not because they're bad players. It's because there's a lot of inexperience, and they've just been caught in that transition where, like, we want to get younger, but at the same time too, we want young guys that complement the older guys that we kind of have already. And I think, it's been a big step for Chicago this year, to kind of match up against a team that, I might pick them as, like, coming out of the West, against Vegas, like, the way they were able to, vintage Corey Crawford, the young guys, maybe they didn't perform as well, but, they weren't terrible. Like, Alex DeBrincat, like Dylan Strome, I have high hopes for them.
If I'm being honest, and there's only one other team that that matches up against Vegas, and that's Colorado, and we'll get to them later, but
oh boy, will we? They had a good last game.
Yeah,
they did.
I guess you really look at Vegas and you think, my dear God, you sometimes forget just how stacked the top six is. Riley, Marchessault, Pacioretty, Stone, Stastny. Riley Smith is the other one I'm forgetting. And man, Ryan Reeves and William Carrier. Those are. Say what you want about them. You like them in the playoffs, though.
Sure.
We don't know who. So they're still reseeding after every round. So we don't know quite who Vegas is facing yet.
They'll get the lowest seed.
Mm-hmm. Which I don't know. Maybe it's Arizona. Maybe they can pull an upset. I'm kidding. We won't go through that though. Looking at the Chicago side though, there are a lot of questions surrounding that team when you really think about it. They've got some contracts coming up. There are going to be some questions around, your Stromes, Kubalik. He was amazing too. What are you going to deal with him? How much do you pay him? I think now that there's an elimination, we can talk about this. But I mean, where do the Blackhawks go from here? And I think we can start with a discussion about not young but not so young Corey Crawford.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to start?
Sure, why not?
I think they're in a bit of a weird stage, simply because they still have Taze, Kane, and I guess we'll include Duncan Keith in that original big boy core. Mm-hmm. And what do you do? Like I wouldn't necessarily call it a rebuild because I don't think you're trading any of those guys. I think it's more fair to call it a retool.
Yes.
And I think they're doing a retool on the fly. Bringing in, Dominic Kubalik, I think was a great addition. I don't know how many people saw that actually coming. Drafting Alex DeBrincat, drafting Kirby Doc, trading for Alex Nylander, trading for Dylan Strome, drafting Adam Buckfist. Like, I think they're doing a good job. I think they have to be very careful in handing out another big deal. Like, Brandon Saad's up at the end of next season. Like, you're telling me you're going to sign him to what?
They were talks of trading him. I don't think that's
like, they have to be careful. And knowing Stan Bowman.
Well, he traded Robin Leonard. He knew where that team was at the deadline. I think that's a little.
He shouldn't have traded Robin Leonard. That's the point. They
weren't going to make.
He should have. I guess, but what did you get for Robin Leonard? Malcolm Subban and what?
A second.
It's better than nothing.
I guess it's better than nothing, but I would have let Corey. In my opinion, I would have let Corey Crawford walk, and brought back Robin Leonard.
I actually really thought that was the original idea when they got Robin Leonard. Like, it was like the $5 million, show me you could be a starter kind of thing. Then the extension. Then
they wouldn't even sign him for more than 2 years.
Yeah, so and Leonard wouldn't have signed. So they were screwed anyway. So you get rid of him.
Oh, absolutely. But I don't think the fact that they wouldn't sign him to more than 2 years is acceptable.
Do you think they go back?
I think he's proved himself for an actual contract. I don't know why they think he needs another show me 2 years. That's the issue. That's the issue. Yes, if you're not going to sign him for more than 2 years and he's not going to take it, absolutely trade him. But now you're stuck with Corey Crawford and whoever's behind him.
Colin Delia
or Malcolm Subban.
Yeah.
Subban and Delia is a question mark. Yeah, and I think Crawford has his injury problems over a few seasons ago. Yeah. But I think the performance that he just gave in the playoffs, I think he's gotten a bit more. I think he's earned a bit more of a benefit. And there is the big goalie market coming up. So they could still save themselves there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, the thing is, if they bring back Corey Crawford, I don't know, he'll be like 40, like a Halak type of thing. He'll play 40 games.
But who's it? They're gonna have to bring someone else in. I don't think know. Malcolm Subban plays the rest of the
unless he finally breaks out.
I don't know if he's gonna break out. I will tell you a team that really broke out in the last game they played. A lot was made about the performance of some of the top teams in the round robin. One of those teams were the Bruins, who also had a really weird camp. Kasha missing a lot of the time. Pasternak, who has still not played. They don't need them. They don't need their starting goalie in Tuukka Rask. Yeah. They don't need Andre Kasha to be performing right now. They don't need David Pastrnak because they kept the Carolina Hurricanes to, I believe it was 2 shots in the third period. They scored 4 unanswered goals after being down 2-0 in the third period against poor James Reimer. And just like that, I'm talking about 2020, not 2013, by the way. All of that going against them, the 100-point Boston Bruins have showed up, and they have done it in a really. It's like when you watch a monster movie, and you know it's in San Francisco, so you know that they're going to go destroy the Golden Gate Bridge. That's what that was.
Yeah.
So
they really did turn up for sure.
Yeah, that third period, when I was watching it, just Carolina, like, okay. James Reimer, he did his best with the shots I think he was getting. But that first goal, like when he dove for it, like why did you dive?
Jake DeBrusk, yeah.
Yeah, why did you dive for that goal? And then the other ones, he didn't, kind of inexcusable. Like these guys going around the defense. But yeah, it's just that Carolina, like that team, like they look they were like invisible on offense. Like, you wait the fact that they still got a goal on Halak in the third period still is astounding.
They've already lost Svechnikov, as we know.
That's a huge loss.
Yeah, for that game, I know he was skating yesterday, but McAvoy destroyed Jordan Staal.
Yeah.
In that game, and they never recovered. It was, Alex, wasn't it? It was very uncharacteristic of the Hurricanes, and Rod Brind'Amour said they learned from it. But to see them fold in like that.
Yeah, it would definitely really uncharacteristic of that team, considering how strong of a defense they have, and to blow up like that. And, you're losing Jordan Staal, but we talk about how, in terms of depth, what they have. Like, let's think about it like this. They lost Svechnikov. They replaced him with Nino Niederreiter on the first line. The Bruins lost David Pastrnak and replaced him with Anders Bjork.
That's okay.
So I was on a little bit of a heater last episode. No idea why they played Anders Bjork on the first line. Speaking of, Pasternak's supposed to skate during warm-ups today. So by the time this podcast is out, he may or may not have actually played this game.
We'll see. I mean, do they need him? Do they need him?
I mean, it'd be really nice to have him. Yeah. He's on my fantasy playoff team, so I'd like him to play. Along with 4 other Bruins players.
One thing I kind of had was, like, when Jordan Staal went down, that was a huge check.
Yeah.
And people, like, I was looking on Twitter saying, like, oh, that's what they lost. That was the, like, the turning point. They lost their captain, for, like, this team. But, like, at the same time, too, like, I see, like, they had Justin Williams, who's technically their captain, like, 2 years ago. Like, I really feel like, in that leadership role, like, he could have rallied the troops in a way.
Also, Rod Brind'Amour should have done that, which is all, again, if we're going to keep talking about what's not expected, is Rod's one of those guys that, the Sarah Sivian of The Athletic. No, it was Rachel Dorey, who put a tweet after there was a really controversial call on the Hurricanes, I think in game 1 or 2, and they had come back and scored a goal, and Brind'Amour was losing. Because, coaches are kind of like, we scored good. Brind'Amour was losing. It's that thing of you'd run through a wall for that guy. I think
that was game 1.
That was game 1.
Because then he got fined.
Yeah, he did. He did. And then Dundon paid for it. Yeah. But what I mean is, like, Justin Williams again. He won on that cup team with Brind'Amour.
Yeah.
It really also is a thing, and I love Rod Brind'Amour. Who doesn't? He also, I think, should learn a thing from that game as well, because, my dear God, Bruce Cassidy is a good coach. Just give him the Jack Adams right now. And by the way, we should all be ashamed of ourselves from thinking the Bruins weren't looking good out. At the end of the day, though, Daniel, should the Hurricanes be happy if they lose, knowing that instead of getting swept like last year, at least they won a game?
No, because I think that they should have come back with the team they had, no matter what the injuries they have, the depth that they have, the defense that they have, that, they should have at least pushed this to Game 7, I think. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just that we don't like the Bruins, or that the Hurricanes are just so likable, but it's a team that, we've talked about so much that, like I'm a huge Jacob Slavin fan, that I want to see that guy win. He's the type of guy that, these guys at Carolina, Brett Pesce, these guys that Carolina keeps bringing in to, they're just, their fit is so seamless that this is a team that, should do better. Like, it's expected of them.
Absolutely.
I'll ask you guys this question after the series is over.
Okay.
The Bruins, though. We'll switch gears to the Bruins.
Okay.
Chris Wagner.
Yeah, Mike kept talking about Chris Wagner. Knock that one off the bingo list. I brought up Mike. Okay.
It's insane how everyone always, we consistently forget about the second line of that team. And it's kind of like, okay, yeah, you lost Pastrnak. You still got Marchand and Patrice, most importantly, Patrice Bergeron. And then the second line, we always forget about DeBrusk, and we always forget about David Krejci. And I'm so disappointed that we always do.
Yeah.
Because he is so good.
He's really good.
And the Blue Jackets have tied it up, guys. That's massive. Sorry, go on, fellas.
Okay, this is one thing that really bothers me with Boston.
They're good.
But it's like to their benefit. It's just like they get these guys and they put them here and there, and they're so good. Like, like before, like, Nola Chari before he left for like Florida, or like, Matt Grzelcyk, Par Lindholm. Leafs great Par Lindholm there. Off the
knock that one off.
Yeah. Who else? Chris Wagner, Joakim Nordstrom, Sean Corelli. Like all these guys that they somehow put always into like, wherever in their, their bottom six, or even sometimes in their top six, that they play so well that it, you sometimes, we always focus so much on like the all-stars that we forget that they have these guys that, are doing the dirty work for them.
Mm-hmm. Anything else that you'd like to say, Dan? Alex, on the word of the Bruins.
No, everything that Daniel said is what I would have said.
It's really frustrating that they keep bringing in these guys on like these small contracts, and like they get so much out of them.
It's like what Tampa does.
Yeah.
I hate the Atlantic Division.
Yeah.
I hate it so much.
So do I.
It's tough. It's tough being a fan. And again, we'll say this one more time. They are doing this, the Bruins, without their starting goaltender. Yaroslav Halak, my God, are we seeing a rewind of 2010, sorry.
2010.
Dear God, I hope not. By the way, man, he really should have waited till after the playoffs to get that contract, because he could be making a lot more money. But he doesn't mind, I'm sure. Guys.
Wait, who are you talking about?
Halak.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've noticed in this playoffs, and so far we've talked about of every sort of series here, is there have been some spectacular performances from goaltenders. It seems like every night we hear about a 40, 50 save performance. I love it so much as a goalie fan myself, though. Unfortunately, in one series, the dam broke. Darcy Kemper has been somehow able to keep the Coyotes in this series versus Colorado. Though in Game 4, Colorado won 7-1. Kemper was pulled. His save percentage is still over 920. I believe it's a 924.
915.
950. And what I love about this is, sorry, how much?
915.
That's still pretty solid for
NHL.com lied to me earlier today, and I'm not happy.
So a Hockey Reference has it at.
God damn, NHL. Why would I trust NHL.com? And what I love about this...
Adam, because it's including the play-in series. Mine's just the 4 games.
I see. All right. And the best part about this for Colorado is, and we'll go into ripping the Coyotes in a second here, leading the way, 9 points for each of these players, Nazem Kadri and Nathan MacKinnon. And oh boy, has MacKinnon been an absolute, he's been like a bouncer.
As advertised.
Strong. My God. And Kadri, nice of you to not get suspended, because look how well you play.
Yeah, I was listening to Overdrive about that. Jamie McLennan and Jeff O'Neill were talking about that. They're like, where was this Kadri the last 2 seasons? In
the press box.
They joked that they talked about good on him not getting suspended, but the fact that he has 9 points so far, and he 2 goals, 1 assist last game, and I hate that they brought up the Tyson Berry again, but because it was supposed to be just on Colorado, but it was something that it was great to see that he's having an amazing series so far.
Two things there about Kadri. Number one, he's not suspended. He's playing on the ice, and number two, he's playing in a role that he's succeeded in the past as a second line center.
There it is.
Last year, he played on the third line. It's like even during the regular season, everyone's all confused at why Kadri's playing so well. He's playing in a role that he succeeded in the past. He scored 30 goals twice before John Tavares got there. He was matched up with Connor McDavid and shut down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't a surprise.
Yeah, that same game. I remember OT McDavid gets stripped of the puck by Kadri.
Yeah.
Even complains about it to the refs. The Leafs go on, they score. Yeah, this really is the Nazem Kadri that people love. Also, of course, guys like Makar. Everyone who should be firing is firing for.
That's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. And that is not news. I think we all expected this, and. I fell into this thing of false hope, this dark pit. And the walls of said pit were Kachina jerseys. And I really thought after the qualifying round, because everyone can score against Nashville, and for some reason I thought there was a sign of things to come. It's one thing to you can rely on your goalie and maybe take an extra chance or that. It's a different story to leave him out to dry. And you still can't produce any offense like the Coyotes are unable to do right now.
We knew their defense was leaky. But what that was horrendous. You have to feel bad. Like, you have to feel bad for Darcy Kemper because I think he has one of the most shots against throughout the play-in and this round. And
look at the stats quickly.
Okay, and it's like, come on, like, do something for the guy. The guys who showed up in the first round against Nashville in the play-in series seem to not be showing up. Christian Dvorak, 0 points. Phil Kessel, 0 points. Taylor Hall has 2 points. Who else? Let's pull this up. Clayton Keller, 2 points. They have no positive players. Everyone's a minus, and then there's I think 5 or 6 players who are even.
I think I've said it before, where this series is kind of a showing of what you get when you have a complete team, and you kind of are like patient and compliment what you already have. Then you see the Coyotes where it's like, hey, we're having a bit of that streak. Let's just add in Taylor Hall. And, we already got Phil Kessel in the offseason. We have these marquee guys that, what we've talked about before, where I've said where maybe they got them to be like, let's sell some tickets. But now it's just kind of showing that, it's just all these pieces put together, but it's not like a cohesive product.
Would you guys like to hear the shots against Darcy Kemper?
Yes.
So this is including the play-in round.
Okay.
Nashville, game 1, 43 shots against. Game 2, 28. Game 3, 40. Game 4, 52. All right. Then we go against the Avalanche. Game 1, 40. Game 2, 28. Game 3, 51. Game 4, where he got pulled, 22 shots, 4 goals against. The guy's workload is insane.
Does this not remind you of Montreal at all? Like the fact that, like, maybe not this year because this year's a little bit different, but when Shea Weber's out and the defense is a little more leaky than usual, they're getting murdered in shots, and Darcy Kemper has to stand on his head.
It's worse because in the playoffs, you're going to have these wicked overtime frames when they can just pile on. There's more pressure. Though it's just I don't know how you as players, I'll never understand this in my life. You can see your guy taking all this abuse, and you just can't seem to turn the switch on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just give him a hand.
I don't want to say that how they played against Nashville was just all luck.
It's Nashville.
But yeah, like I think they were able to out offense Nashville. But then the thing is, it's not like they're even trying to out offense Colorado. Like they're just stuck. It just seems like they can't do anything. Like I think that for how many? Okay, 2 in the second game, 4 in the third game, 1 in the fourth game.
Goals for?
Yeah, 0 in the first game.
They you mentioned they outscored Nashville, and that is a Nashville team whose leading scorer was defenseman captain Roman Josi.
Yeah.
And then you go to the Avalanche, and the only reason they didn't have more players to the scoring level towards Nathan McKinnon is because they were hurt. But then you've got, again, there's Mac, there's Kadri, Makar. I wonder how many – I'm going to look up Nashville scoring and see how many points Makar had more than the scores on Nashville.
Okay, Mike said last episode, and I think I'd have to agree with him, that Arizona's making Eric Johnson look like a puck-moving defenseman.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Like, help Darcy Kemper. Like, what the hell? Like, okay, let's just assume they lose. I think they're playing today, correct?
I believe they are.
Yeah, they're playing this tonight, I think. What do you do with this team? I don't know. Like, I think now with the flat cap, I think there might be a higher chance that Taylor Hall resigns. Maybe, but what else?
If you were Taylor Hall, would you resign?
I consider it. I consider it because you're not going to get as much. I don't think he's going to get as much money as he would if there's an increasing cap, and knowing that we're not going to see an increasing cap for at least 3 years, potentially even more.
By the way, the leading scorer on the Yotes this year in 70 games was Nick Schmaltz with 45 points. I changed this to the Yotes, by the way. Makar had 50 points on Colorado. Just thought I'd mention that. And those scoring woes have continued. So there goes my theory about good and bad ice. But
the issue is they showed up against Nashville, or seemed to show up against Nashville, and then disappeared against Colorado. And that's what's happening on the ice right now.
Maybe because like they feel like, I don't know, this is what I can see. Like it's like the mountain aspect. Like, you know, with Nashville, like you could conquer it, but can you conquer the Avalanche? I know.
No.
It's just like, is there literally a mountain on their thing? But anyways, that's what I kind of thought, that, you know, it's just like, yeah, the same story with things. Just, it's like, I don't know, like the Coyotes, like it was bound to break. Like I like that good analogy, like a dam. Like the floodgates have opened. That the Coyotes, like, you know, everything is kind of broken. Show us. We'll just show you now all of the aspects where, you know, you could score on us, where you could take advantage of. Like, you know, this is a team that, I don't know. They just don't look like they don't want to be there anymore.
Mm-hmm. I forget who said it, but somebody said. Someone in hockey media said that the winner, and this is a debate we might have when the playoffs are done, the winner of the Stanley Cup will be the team that manages the bubble the best. Next series we'll talk about is, by the way I've constructed this was, of course, you talk about Crawford and that, like the series that's already been done, then in order of like the game schedule. So next up, the Habs and the Flyers, a.k.a. the Montreal Canadiens versus Carter Hart, crossbars, and posts.
Sorry, what?
I'm just gonna I'm gonna sit back a little here because I imagine you guys have some questions for me about this series.
Sorry, I was fixing something on my computer. That's why I zoned out there for a second.
That's fine.
Yeah, I do. if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Why is this team look very different than they did against Pittsburgh?
I don't think they look different. They haven't been playing poorly. This is the problem. I am feeling very much a repeat of 2017 versus the Rangers here. And that is that Price is playing extremely well, which is not a surprise. Mm-hmm. They cannot score. They're playing to the Flyers level, but they just cannot score a goal to save that. They hit 4 posts in Game 3, and then Game 4. You can't be shut out in back-to-back games versus the playoffs. Alex Belzile, I don't know if you guys saw this. 2-on-1 ends up that Belzile is in front all the time in the world. Right-handed shot in front of Carter Hart, and he missed the net. Brendan Gallagher has 3 assists since entering the bubble, and that's it.
Yeah, can we talk about a few players? And so I only have the stats up for the 4 games they play against the Flyers. I can go get the other ones. But in this series alone, Max Domi, goalless. Drouin, goalless. Brendan Gallagher, goalless.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 guys, like, I'd expect to put up something. Like Thomas Tatar and Jesperi Kotkaniemi both only have 2 goals, but like Jesperi Kotkaniemi looks completely different than he did the entire season.
He's so good. It's night and day.
This is what happens when, maybe like players like heal from injuries and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah, you give them time,
Hey,
I don't know.
AHL isn't a bad place to go, guys.
I don't know. It's science.
Yes.
Cross that one off.
Wait, so Adam.
Yes.
So the whole time when there was the Leafs against the Blue Jackets, Leafs Nation put #free Holland Oates. What is the goal? What is the goal song for the Canadians?
It doesn't even have a name. It's just kind of like hey.
So free
hey.
hey.
It's not like a actual song.
It used to be a song. They changed it.
So #free hey song.
No, there's nothing to do. It doesn't. We haven't heard the goal song in.
I know that's the thing. You got to free it.
Like, how do you? It's a simple recipe. How do you be the good goaltender? You get traffic in front. You block his eyes. You get bodies, and it's simple. It's simple.
Okay.
Get guys in front of the net to go to the net, get rebounds, screens, deflections.
Let me ask you this, Adam.
Yes.
What did the Montreal Canadiens do in Game 2 that they have not been doing in Game 3 and 4?
They were motivated because their coach went to the hospital.
But on the ice, because yes, maybe Philadelphia did not have the greatest of games in Game 2. But when you're watching the game, what is it specifically that they did in Game 2 that they didn't do in Game 3 and Game 4? Because something seemed to be missing.
They're not talented enough.
But I thought this was a 5-on-5 team.
Yes, they are.
Are they not playing 5-on-5?
I thought Philip Deneau was a top center.
They do play great, and they are a good scoring team at 5-on-5. Mm-hmm. The issue is they are a team, and we've talked about this with many teams like Columbus.
Yeah.
They fight for every goal.
Right.
And the issue is when you cannot get an easy goal, eventually it catches up to you. And unfortunately, that is catching up to the Montreal Canadiens. I give no credit to Philadelphia. It's just there is the extra step to, I think if anyone thought the Flyers were going to win Game 2, you're insane. It wasn't the Flyers were not going to win that game.
I mean,
it was not going to happen.
I think the narrative before the game, just what happened with Claude Julien off the ice, that's a starter for why they weren't going to win the game. In the first 5 minutes, it looked like Philadelphia wasn't going to win that game.
By the way, because I haven't been on the show, my best wishes to Claude Julien and his family. Apparently, Clerk Muller talked to him the other day, and he's walking and he's good. So you love to. Apparently, the thing he got done, my grandmother got a lot years ago. So it's good to see that Julien is all right.
That's good.
Domi has run out of excuses because he's been playing in the top 6 now.
Mm-hmm. On the wing, I prefer, right?
Sorry?
On the wing?
Yes, he's been on the wing now. Jonathan Drouin, I love him. I can't make excuses for him anymore. He just has to be better. It's like the entire team. Oh, by the way, if you want like a real reason that they just can't seem to get anything going as well, my dear God, can they not make a pass? They just cannot make a pass to save their lives. And Jonathan Drouin has this horrible habit of he gets in these funks where he cannot complete a pass. Sometimes he just needs to take a step or two back with his game because he's trying too hard.
That was the same criticism they had for him in Tampa, where he'd take the puck and try to do it all on his own.
Yeah. And like, bless you, I love you, Jonathan. Just take a step back. That's all I need from you. Just take a step back and relax and make the simple play.
Yeah, like the pressure's not there anymore. He's not a center anymore.
No.
What do you mean the pressure's not there anymore?
I mean,
what does
for
that
him
mean?
to not do too much. Not too much. The pressure's there for him to perform, but not the not the heavy pressure to be like play out of position and be our top scorer.
Because I'm gonna say, like, he's been heavily pressured since he arrived in Montreal day one. Number one, he's French. Is he Canadian?
Yeah, he's French-Canadian.
French-Canadian.
Yeah, he's from outside Montreal.
Pardon?
He's from outside Montreal.
Okay, and was traded for Mikhail Sergachev.
Yes.
And a second rounder.
So
it was 1-for-1.
It was
no, it was a second rounder, I believe.
No.
Yeah, I will pull up the trade.
Okay.
It was a 1-for-1, Daniel.
It was definitely 1-for-1.
Jonathan, no, it was
It was 1-for-1.
It was not 1-for-1.
Yes, it was.
It was not 1-for-1.
I swear it was.
Drouin was traded by the Lightning along with the conditional 6th-round pick in 2018 to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for defensive prospect Mikhail Sergachev and a conditional 2018 second-round pick.
But those didn't switch.
Did they?
I don't think so because the conditions weren't met.
Let's check the draft, 2018.
So you're right, but you're not. The moment you said conditional 6, I was like, oh crap, he's right.
Here, let's see. Cap Friendly will tell me.
While you're doing that,
Sergachev played in 40 regular season games. No picks are exchanged.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys.
No, you're right. It was in the initial trade. We forgot.
It just ended up becoming 1-for-1 because of the conditions.
Yeah, because the conditions. You are right. I do apologize. But I'm going to try and save face and say you are kind of wrong. But you are right, though. You are right.
It's such an odd condition.
Yeah, but whatever.
If Sergachev doesn't play 40 regular season or playoff games,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter right now. We're not talking about that.
Hell?
We're not talking about that.
Okay.
What?
I'm not talking about that right now.
God.
We're not going for another 2 hours here. Is Daniel lagging out?
No.
What? No.
Okay, you were just sorry. All right.
Sorry, I was like I was trying to do a delayed laugh, so it's not too hard on the microphone.
Yeah, that's fine. By the way, I never thought I'd ever have to say this in my life, and I mentioned it earlier. Brendan Gallagher is disappointing me for the first time ever.
Wow.
He was not happy that at one point he was on the 4th line in the last game. Brendan, I love you, dude. Like, I love Brendan. I get to go paintballing with him. At some point, effort is no longer good enough. I need results. The team needs results, and we're not getting them.
Sound like a professor there.
Shut out in back-to-back playoff games.
No.
They need a miracle.
They do.
Carey Price's save percentage is like .949. What are you going to do about it? The Flyers don't exist.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to ask me about this series, by the way?
No. Anything
Daniel?
you'd like to say?
Montreal coming back.
I hope they do.
What do they have to do to come back?
Score. That one. That's good.
I mean, I'll tell you this. If the rest of the team can play up to... Sorry, the garbage truck's here. If the team can play up to about half of the play that Jesperi Kotkaniemi is playing at, they're going to win. Like, again, the Flyers aren't outplaying the Habs to me. The Habs are outplaying themselves again. And, I mean, beside that, I don't know what else to really say.
Is the garbage truck on the bingo card?
Sorry?
The garbage truck sound. Is it on the bingo card?
It's not. I should put it on there though.
I think was it last episode? It was for me. It was an ice cream truck.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go get some ice cream?
No, just Mike and Alex were wondering like, what is that sound? It's like those random jingle songs.
But that was bad because I picked up my mic and went into my chair there. All right. I guess next we'll pick it up a bit here. Guys.
Oh, we didn't talk about something. I don't know if Couturier versus Deneau.
Oh yes, I was talking. Yeah, there's been like a topic I wanted to ask you.
I'm going to let Daniel and Adam fight this one out.
So, who is the better two-way center for the series right now?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. At the moment, I would probably give it to Sean Couturier. The reason that is simply because I have not noticed either of them. Mm-hmm. Now, that entire Deneau line is kind of built for playoffs, and they are very good. At the same time, Philippe Deneau has kind of disappeared off the score sheet along with everyone else. But it hasn't been as much of a story as I thought a lot of us would be. What has stood out to me about that matchup, though, is and they talked about this on the Sportif Athletique, French guys, is that Alain Vigneault has not been afraid to go after that matchup of like Deneau's on a starting lineup. Couturier, get out there, buddy. And yeah, there is a story that the Voracek has scored, but the rest of the top line guys for the Flyers,
kind of flat. Well, I mean, Michael Raffl scored.
Yeah, Michael Raffl. Oh no, Michael Raffl. Where's he?
I don't know. He somehow finds himself in the top 6 every year. I don't know how, but I've
heard the names Derek Grant and Nate Thompson more than I have Claude Giroux. And since I'm here, boy, do I love Carey Price cocking his fist at Derek Grant. I love that so much. Like I love when Carey's got a bit of bite to him.
You know who he should have done that to? You know who he should have done that to instead?
Xavier Ouellet.
Yeah, his own player.
Yeah, but he couldn't see it. If you look at where Price was looking for the puck, he couldn't. I'm sure after the intermission, he sat him down and was like, listen here, idiot, stop it.
Throw another guy into me. I dare you.
Because then next it's going to be you.
Yeah, next time I'm popping you in the face.
There are a few things that are better than angry Carey Price. He's the best. He's the best goalie. I love him so much. Okay, guys, I had a bit of a scare in this series. Tonight, a big, really big game. As big as playoffs can really get here. The Blues and the Canucks are tied 2-2. The Canucks were up to a 2-0 lead. The likes of Hughes, especially Bo Horvat, great performances. But since they have pulled away from Jordan Binnington and Jake Allen has taken the net, the Blues have been storming back. Ryan O'Reilly's been massive. Though Vladimir Tarasenko has left the bubble, he's going back to talk to the surgeon about his surgically repaired shoulder. Big loss for the Blues, but they still have all the momentum right now. Alex.
I mean, I brought this up last episode, and Mike was not happy about it at all because I called Jordan Binnington a fraud. No, he's not a fraud. I just think you got to play the better goalie when you're in a situation like that where you do have two competent goalies. Mm-hmm. Like you look at what Dallas was doing, going to Bishop and going to Hudobin and staying with Hudobin. I think that's what St. Louis is doing here. Like Jordan Binnington's 0-2 in the series. Jake Allen is 2-0. Mm-hmm. Right? So I think you got to stick with the goalie who's hot and the goalie who's playing better. And that seems to be Jake Allen, and that's when things turned around.
That's so strange to hear. Maybe because it's Jake Allen, but Daniel, we'll stay on the Blues side there. Because they were kind of the opposite of the Bruins, where they were still bad in the round robin, but they really did not look fantastic. The Canucks were really running their show for those first 2 games.
Yeah, I think like 2 things. Based on what Alex has to say about the goalies, I can't lose here. Both played for the World Juniors for Canada, so I've been huge fans for both of them throughout it. Yeah, but I know, like, what we talked about before, like, the way the Blues won, they have the skill, but at the same time, too, they they do have a heavy game to them. And I think with the way the Canucks have been, they've been matching them up really well. Like, I think, Jordan Binnington, man, like, I hated to see that criticism he got. Remember when he said he should have won the Calder?
Yeah.
Elias Pettersson, that was kind of like, not his best moment, but, that was really brought up after that Game 2 loss. And for Jake Allen to kind of come in now and, kind of perform, like he was kind of like that starter for a while there. So, like, it's nothing really lost there. But I think the Blues now are, they have more momentum. They have the guys clicking. Tarasenko is going to be a huge loss for them. But, I'm going to be looking at, like, David Perron. I'm going to be looking at Jaden Schwartz to kind of, like, pick things up. And that defense is still rock solid.
Mm-hmm. Alex, what do you make of the play of the Vancouver Canucks?
I mean, the first 2 games, they looked pretty damn good. Like the Vancouver Canucks we saw in – I mean, kind of what we saw in the play-in series against Minnesota. The guys who are supposed to be scoring are on fire. You got Miller, Pettersson, Horvat, and even Besser, who are playing spectacularly. Add Quinn Hughes into that mix. And, of course, Jacob Markstrom, who is standing on his head. That's another guy who's faced a lot of shots. Right, so you gotta be worried at that point, and like, I don't necessarily think the dam's gonna break, but I do think something's gonna pop.
I cannot wait for the reaction from Canucks fans if the Canucks blow this completely. Like, if they don't win any of the remainder of the games in this series, it will be a learning experience nonetheless for those young Canucks players,
especially the big 3.
Exactly. Exactly. And, oh boy, Quentin Hughes. I'm not getting off the Makar bandwagon yet, but I am getting close to it. He is very, very good.
Yeah, like the way he moved the puck, like this series was amazing. And I think that's kind of someone that, I like seeing lead your defense. But at the same time, too, like as much as Tanev and Edler have been, solid, they need to kind of move the puck a bit further. They need to kind of get their legs moving in front of Jacob Markstrom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jody Ben's coming, guys. Don't worry. He is always
the better of the Bens.
Yippee.
We won't go as much into the Canucks today just because they are one of the – I think they're the only team today that is not in an elimination game. So we will definitely do more on them a little bit later. Now, the rest of the last 2 teams are playing tomorrow, and we will start with the team that ruined the show for me today because I was getting ready to rip the Capitals for getting swept. So, Todd Reirden, despite a win, mainly thanks to Alexander Ovechkin scoring his 69th playoff goal last night. There's a word to describe that. Everyone at home knows what it is. Though Todd Reirden is really getting out coached by his former boss in Barry Trotz here. It is a red flag to me that the Stanley Cup champions from only 2 seasons ago, with the likes of Ovechkin, with the likes of Kuznetsov, unfortunately Backstrom is not healthy right now, John Carlson has not been fantastic. They are looking like they cannot play, period, right now. And is this just a masterclass from Barry Trotz against the team that he probably knows better than the Islanders?
Yeah, I think that's the talking point. Like, we all talked about how Barry Trotz coached 2 years ago, but I don't think we talk about the effect that it can have for the Islanders. And Barry Trotz knows this team. Most of the Capitals are kind of the same team that won it back in 2017?
18.
Yeah, same year. 2018. Close enough.
Not the same year.
Close enough. All feels the same. I feel like no, that's not a huge talking point. Like, we can go back to the first game, and I keep bringing this up. 1 period in, Tom Wilson has 9 penalty minutes. Like, I understand that. Yes, we expect him. Like, right now, he has 17 penalty minutes. Half his penalty minutes in 4 games came in 1 period. Like, they know what they're doing. Like, they're getting under his skin, and they got it under his skin in the first period.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
I
like
think, yeah.
they know where buttons to push to kind of steer the Capitals away from the way they want to play. Like, it's kind of like just exposing them. Tom Wilson, for a guy who's that undisciplined to be on your top line is, not a good look. It's something that, Brady Trotz knows. He's the one who made up that line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, if you're going to isolate Ovechkin, where, like, despite the fact that he had, a pretty nasty goal last night, I trust Brady Trotz. I've complimented him so much. I chose him for our hypothetical Team Canada squad as the head coach, and he's getting the most out of the players. Like PODGO has surprised me. Like, I still criticize that trade, and he surprised me. Like, he's become a pretty solid two-way guy for the Islanders.
Let's not forget Washington's also not getting very good goaltending.
No.
Yeah, I hope he's done. He is so far done.
How much? Sorry.
Did you guys see who the Capitals signed earlier?
Zach Fucale.
Zachary Fucale.
Montreal Canadian great.
Get that guy in.
Zach Fucale.
How much do you guys think the series would be different if they had Ilya Samsonov? Like, is goaltending the real issue here?
Like, it's been leaky, but it hasn't been, like, 7-1.
It's not Holtby's fault John Carlson hasn't scored.
Hasn't scored a goal?
Nope.
He has 6 assists.
Mm-hmm. He's a big part of that power play, too. I mean, it's been Ovechkin. I mean, again, by the way, if you thought Ovechkin was passing on that goal, you're insane. He's amazing. I don't know how different it is.
Oh my God. I have a great stat when you're done.
You go ahead, then.
They've had 3 players score goals.
The Caps?
3 players have scored all their goals.
So OV? Because
OV, yeah.
Ovi, Kuznetsov, and TJ Oshie. That's it.
Yeah, that's expected.
That's it.
Grano has been their even strength scorer, so he's been quiet. Backstrom's
0.
hurt.
No points.
Oh, that's rough. That's rough. And it doesn't help that you lose Lars Eller for some games. He was a part.
Lars Eller is back, right?
He is now, yes.
He was playing on the second line.
He just missed the first game. Is that what he missed?
I don't know. I know he's missed at least one game, but still, like losing a center when Backstrom's out, that's a guy who is good in the playoffs. He got your Stanley Cup winning goal. You never want to lose that.
Absolutely.
Again, we talked about John Carlson. That is, if he wins, people have been saying if he wins the Norris, abolish it, abolish the trophy, and I agree. Just get rid of it. Doesn't count anymore.
The Islanders have 10 players who have put a puck in the net.
Consistency all around.
Anthony Beauvillier was really, really good during the play-in, and Barzal, my dear God, is he? And when Anthony, there was something on Hockey Central that Anthony Stewart talked about that I want to bring it up to you guys. So he's like, Holtby was probably a little surprised because he's not used to the score, like having a score associate, and he gets surprised when he sees a guy like Matt Barzal.
Yeah.
Do you not and then Brian Burke said, well, I think he would know when he sees the number, Story, but I don't know why that stuck. Maybe it's because Anthony Stewart was legitimately upset when Montreal beat the Pens, like he's in my bad books right now. But, I mean, like, you can't say that the Caps are in this situation with something like they wouldn't expect the Islanders to score, especially Matt. Like Jordan Eberle is amazing. They're full of playoff performers. I know you said, John Gabriel Pageau, but a Rangers fan will tell you how good he is. Beauvillier is decent.
Yeah, but I think the thing is when you look at the last 2 years and how even if you look at the playoffs and how they've won their games, it's been by defense first. Like, yeah, I think it's a little bit of a stretch to say they're surprised because I think if you look at that team, how many of them are pure scorers by nature? And I think the one name that really comes out is Matt Barzal, and I think maybe you can include Jordan Eberle in that too. But there's no. Yes, John Gabriel Pageau can put can put up points, but I think you think of John Gabriel Pageau more of two-way. There's not many players who you think of as scorers on that team. But I agree. I think it's a little bit of a stretch to say that. But I think if you look at the New York Islanders, they win by defense first.
Mm-hmm. The Capitals have a mountain. I would definitely not count them out, especially if Ovechkin starts turning it on. That man is a monster. Last series we have to tackle here. To quote Beauty and the Beast, tale old as time, between Gaudreau and Monahan, they have one goal. And Dallas are leading the series 3-2.
Yeah. I'm not surprised.
No.
I really liked how Daniel put it last episode about how they're both like teams who have had major issues, just mightily battling it out.
Just two teams that like their stars can like constantly disappear.
Right, Daniel? That's how you put it?
Yeah, it's just like two guys where they technically have paid these guys to be your core players, but they don't perform when it matters.
Yeah.
Or, Jamie Benn the last 2 years.
Fagan doesn't have a goal, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Listen, last episode, I must have cursed it or something. Last episode, I said Monahan and Pavelski were pointless. Monahan puts up 2 assists, and Pavelski scores a hat trick.
I mean, if I'm Dallas, I kind of question the fact of giving a 35-year-old who just had a massive concussion that deal. But, man, he has not slowed down. He has not slowed down as Joe Pavelski. It's insane how that guy, he's one of those guys that just when the game needs it, he can flip a switch and be like, yeah, I'm going to win this game now.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say he hasn't slowed down. I'd say he comes up clutch when you need him to come up clutch.
Mm-hmm. Is that $7 million worthy?
No, it's not.
Because listen, he played 67 games this year. And he put up 31 points. That's his lowest total since the lockout season.
I just thought I'd mention something very quickly, guys. The Blue Jackets set a franchise record for most shots on goal in a single period. They had 24 in the second period.
Wow.
They're up 3-2. What the hell did I miss?
And they're on the power play. Sorry, Daniel. Alex, can you say that stat again? Sorry.
Pavelski had 31 points in 67 games this year.
Yeah, that's
and the last time he put that's his lowest total since 2012-13, where he also had 31 points and in only 48 games though. So I think he has slowed down, but he is coming up clutch when the team needs him to come up clutch, especially in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. We haven't mentioned actually. For $1.5 million this year, Corey Perry has 2 goals and 1 assist.
Of course.
In the playoffs so far.
Okay.
I mean, not Pavelski. Sorry, Perry is the kind of guy where you can say, "Hey, Corey, can you just kind of try and piss the goalie off, please?"
Yeah.
And he does that. I mean, that's how they beat the Oilers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Ducks back when the Oilers.
That was when he was still scoring.
When the Oilers made the playoffs. Yeah.
Corey Perry still had 11 points, 17 games in that year. That's not bad.
No.
That's when Corey Perry was still a top guy.
Yeah, I like the way Daniel puts it. They're two. The struggling is the wrong word. 2 teams with major issues that are just battling it out.
Yeah. Where they'll have the highlights from Anand Khudobin or Dylan Dubé, but not from Sean Monahan.
That's the issue.
Or Jamie Benn.
I think that's the issue with Calgary. They're getting the guys who look the best are the guys on the third line. When Milan Lucic, when they're saying, "Oh, it looks like prime Milan Lucic," don't you see that as an issue?
Yeah. Or Denny Gurianov. This guy scores, and they're like, we're still going to cap you at 12 minutes a game.
Yeah, that's so annoying. You sound like Dmitry Filipovich. He loves that guy. And he is... Rick Bowness, he does not know quite how to allocate that ice time. You know who we should take a second to acknowledge here?
I think I know who you're going to say.
Go ahead, see.
Is it Cam Talbot?
It was Miro Heiskanen.
Oh.
But no, we can talk about Cam Talbot.
So what team is going to sign him to a long-term big boy extension?
Edmonton Oilers.
Could you imagine?
I believe it. I mean,
coming home.
It's not Peter Chiarelli, but it's still Ken Holland.
It's still the Oilers. It's still that Oilers sort of curse.
It's still the 1980s big boys up in the office. Okay,
this is true. I think that is everything, guys. Is there anything else you guys would like to say?
Did we miss anything? I don't think so.
Sure hope we didn't.
I think the Blue Jackets push it to 7.
You heard it here first, folks, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus Christ. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
But does Tampa win?
I don't know. We'll find out
I'd
on
like
the next
Tampa
episode.
Find out. Next episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, my God.
And then the theme song kicks in. Right, lads. Well, if you are listening, hi there. It's nice to see you. If this is your first time listening to the show, or maybe for some reason you've been listening and you haven't subscribed, what's the matter with you? You should go on to wherever you're listening to the show and follow, subscribe, any sort of thing you do like that, I guess. If you're on a platform where you can leave a review and maybe a 5-star rating, you should do that.
Definitely.
We would appreciate that.
One more thing. Sorry.
And leave a review.
One more thing.
Please.
Yeah.
Happy 100, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Happy 100.
Woo, yeah.
Yay.
Kind of forgot about that. Do you guys have a favorite moment in the history of the show? We'll start with Alex here.
David Aries episode.
All right. What about you, Daniel?
I don't know. This is really corny, but I've actually enjoyed all of it.
You know what? Daniel's been doing this really often. He won't pick. Last he goes, yeah, I think the series is going to go to 7 games, but I'm not going to pick a team.
Make a decision.
Come on.
It's going to go to overtime in Game 7, but I'm not going to pick a team.
So you're not going to give me an answer.
I guess not.
I'm understanding. Okay. Mine is anytime I speak. It's just a godsend.
So what you're saying is the same answer as Daniel, so every episode.
No, because I've missed 2.
Okay, so 98 episodes.
99 because we did the unofficial one that hasn't been released yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
99.
Probably
So-
never will be. But
The
yeah,
secret episode.
yeah.
You have to buy the DLC.
It was okay.
Huh? Yeah, it's a DLC, $5. You have to pay for it.
It's not EA Sports. Let's calm down here, guys.
No, that's
EA
not.
Sports is like $15.
Huh?
Just EA Sports would be like a $15 expansion pack.
Can we talk about how there's this stupid NHL 20 gaming tournament and it's like regions and they said the Canadian region or something? Canada's not a goddamn region. It's a country.
Is that what they? I didn't.
Yeah, like you see the commercials with that what's his
I
name?
do see the commercial.
And he's like, the NHL things, the region finals are going on. And the Canadian region looks to be the most. It's not a region.
What's the other regions?
I don't know. They only speak about the Canadian one.
Oh.
Like, it's not a region, you dick. It's a country. It's like how everyone in like the UK is like, yeah, I hate America. Montreal sucks, and you're like, it's a different country. It's like, not to me.
Not the same.
But Stephen Harper said it was a
that's
nation
even
within a
worse.
nation.
That's even worse. See, to say Montreal and then say I hate America, or that's worse. That's arguably worse than calling Canada a region.
Then best city in this country, by the way, is Montreal. All right, yeah. If you want to check out the show for a visual experience, check out the YouTube channel, which is growing. It's getting going. You guys have finally listened to that after 100 episodes. Appreciate it. Yeah, leave a review because for some reason someone left a 2-star review on the show.
Oh, there it is.
They can see it. They can know. We like to keep the thing informed. And I was freaking out on our group chat. I'm like, leave a review if you don't like us. At least tell us what we're doing wrong. Help us improve. Constructive criticism.
Yeah, we have some conspiracy theories.
We do. We're not going to mention that, though. Okay, quickly.
It just
It's
happened after
3-2
Mike.
Columbus. Who's going to win this game? Alex, go.
Tampa.
Daniel, go.
Columbus.
All right, you made a decision. Very good.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, Lego, I'm dropping. All right, bye.
Bye.